Okay, so let's jump right into it. You buy a call option, and you're watching the stock. It shoots up a full dollar. But then you look at your option, and it's only moved, say, 50 cents. What is going on there? Well, the answer, my friend, is delta. Think of delta as the speedometer for your option. It tells you exactly how fast your option's price should be moving in relation to the stock. And in this explainer, we're going to break down why that is an absolute game changer for any trader.
I mean, this is the classic question, right? It's the puzzle that trips up so many people when they're starting out. That little gap, that disconnect, where the option does its own thing and doesn't just perfectly copy the stock, that is exactly what delta is here to explain. And you know what? Getting a grip on this one concept is probably the biggest first step you can take to really, truly understand your trades.
So to really get our heads around this, let's start at square one. Let's unpack the core concept. What is delta, really?
At its heart, it's actually pretty simple. If you look at your option and it has a delta of, say, 0.50, what that's telling you is for every single dollar the stock moves, your option's price is expected to move by about 50 cents. That's it. It's a direct measurement of how sensitive your option is to the stock's price changes.
Now, here's where we see a clear split. A call option's delta is always going to be a positive number, somewhere between 0 and a perfect 1.0, because with a call, you're betting the stock price is going up. On the flip side, a put option's delta is always negative, between 0 and minus 1.0, because you're betting the stock is going to fall. They're basically perfect opposites, and our deltas show you that in black and white.
And check this out. An option's moneyness, where its strike price is compared to the stock's current price, has a huge impact on its delta. If your call option is deep in the money, its delta is going to creep right up close to 1.0. At that point, it starts acting almost exactly like you own the stock itself. If it's right at the money, the delta will be hovering around 0.50, kind of like a 50-50 coin flip. And if it's way, way out of the money, well, the delta is going to be near zero. It's a total long shot, basically a lottery ticket, and it's not going to react much to small moves in the stock.
So you might be thinking, awesome, I'll just look up the delta when I buy my option and I'm good to go. But, and this is really, really crucial, delta is not a static number. It's alive. It's constantly moving. And understanding this dynamic behavior is what really separates the beginners from the pros.
Yeah, this quote pretty much says it all. Delta is a moving target. It reacts to every single tick of the stock price, but it also changes with the steady, relentless march of time as your option gets closer and closer to expiring. You just can't set it and forget it.
So, picture this. You've got a call option. The stock starts to climb, which is great news, right? As it climbs, your option gets deeper and deeper in the money. And as that happens, the delta itself actually starts to increase, getting closer and closer to that 1.0 mark. The result? Your option becomes even more sensitive to the stock's moves. It's like an accelerating effect. The more right you are, the faster the ride gets.
Here's another really cool way to think about delta. You can use it as a kind of rough estimate of probability. So if an option has a delta of 0.30, you can think of that as it having, very roughly, a 30% chance of expiring in the money. Now, it's not a guarantee, obviously, but it's a super handy mental shortcut for just quickly sizing up the odds.
But, and this is a big but, while that little probability trick is useful, you can never forget delta's main job. Its primary purpose is to measure price sensitivity. It's your speedometer telling you how fast you're going right this second. It is absolutely not a crystal ball telling you where you're going to end up.
All right, enough theory. We've covered the what and the why. Now let's get to the most important part. How do you actually use this stuff? How does knowing about delta actually make you a smarter, more confident trader?
Well, you can put delta to work in 3 really powerful ways. First, you can estimate how much your option's price might change before it happens. Second, you can finally get a true sense of how exposed your position is to big market swings. And third, for more advanced folks, you can even use it to hedge your portfolio, basically building positions that are less affected by small, choppy price changes.
Let's make this super real with some quick math. Let's say you own a call with a delta of 0.60. The underlying stock suddenly jumps $2. All you have to do is multiply that $2 move by your delta of 0.60, and you can expect your options price to go up by about $1.20. It's that simple calculation that lets you anticipate what's coming.
And really, this gets to the heart of why so many people trade options to begin with: leverage. If you're making a directional bet, you're convinced a stock is going up or down, picking a higher delta option gives you way more bang for your buck. Your position will be much more leveraged to the stock's movement,
Just remember that works for better and for worse.
So after all that, what's the one thing you absolutely have to walk away with? Let's boil it all down to the single most crucial point.
Look, delta is your foundation. It's the first and, honestly, the most important of the option Greeks you need to learn. Why? Because it governs that fundamental relationship between your option and the stock it's tied to. If you can master this one concept, you are seriously on your way to understanding how options actually behave out in the real world.
So, now you've got a great handle on how delta measures an option's sensitivity to price. But what about that other force we mentioned, time? What happens to your option's value as that clock just ticks and ticks, getting closer and closer to expiration? Well, that's a whole other story, and one we'll dive into next time. Thanks for joining us.